People are truly hurting right now, whether it's a loss of job, can't find a job, or maybe they're still working that job, but not making enough money. Maybe they did receive the pay increase for minimum wage, but maybe they're not getting the hours because more companies who have done the increase have cut employee hours, some down to 2 days a week. So with that, we need to be figuring out what it is we can do right now before the economy truly collapses. And it is collapsing. Stores are closing, pharmacies are closing. Look at Walgreens, CVS, closing hundreds of stores by the end of the year. Banks are closing also. They're taking away ATM machines because the push is for online digital banking, the convenience that people are looking for. Is it really a convenience when that system goes down? Having money set aside for things is so important. This is like an ongoing thing with me and my husband and with many other families out here in this country. How do we get money set aside in case the system crashes? I know this is not easy to do because we struggle with this as well. It's always an emergency that comes up when you start saving money. Whether it's my husband's big rig truck breaking down or my son going back to school in the fall, knowing that we need to have finances available and ready for him, things are going to happen. It could be illness. It could be anything, job loss. But what do you do? How do you save that money and set that money aside? I can't give you the answers to everything. You have to figure out what is going to work for your household and then try to proceed in that way. But this doesn't change the fact that the world keeps spinning and things are continuing to happen. More banks are closing. Major banks, including Wells Fargo, closing even more branches. With this collapse that is about to happen, and it'll probably happen early fall, late fall. Either way, it's going to happen. I'm honestly thinking about getting back into doing property preservation because sadly, people are going to be losing their homes. That business is going to be booming. But back to these banks closing. Closing bank branches isn't necessarily surprising news as more and more customers now rely on the convenience of online banking. But the rate at which banks are shuttering locations may seem slightly concerning, and it should be concerning, as several major banks recently announced closures, including PNC, Santander, and Wells Fargo. Now, there are more banks paring down their locations, and local branch could be affected. Your local branch could be affected. That First Citizens Bank that I showed you guys in that other video that I did about them taking away the ATM machine and having that note posted up there, my husband said they're probably going to end up closing this bank down because there's never really any cars there. You don't really see a lot of people going in and out of it. And that is why a lot of these banks are getting rid of their banks. That's a cost that they just don't need. So I did a similar story on this, but this is just a reminder. According to the April 29th weekly bulletin from the U.S. Office of Comptroller, the OCC, several major banks are closing locations in the coming months, but Wells Fargo is leading the pack. Per the most recent bulletin, Wells Fargo has planned to close an additional 17 branches in 12 states. Those states are Washington, Arizona, Georgia, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nevada, Utah, Connecticut, Virginia, New Jersey, and Texas. Per OCC guidelines, banks are required to provide at least 90 days notice ahead of bank closures, and these branches were identified at the end of April, so the earliest they could close is in late July. And this is why I am reminding you, or maybe this is your first time seeing the fact that these banks are closing. The end of July, we are already almost at the middle of July now. So over the past several months, Wells Fargo informed the OCC about dozens of closing branches. In fact, since early February, the bank has notified the agency about roughly 100 closing branches with closures listed in separate bulletins. So that's why you keep seeing me do bank closings, because they have a certain amount of time to notify them before it is posted. So I try to bring this to you to give you news that you can use, because it might not be your branch. Maybe it's your family member's branch. Share these videos out so people will know. And this push is extreme. It is picking up steam because they see that people enjoy the convenience of digital banking, the capabilities for many of their banking needs, and as a result, more transactions are happening outside the branch. As such, they continuously evaluate their branches, which ones have light foot traffic, to see which ones they are going to close. But like I said, Wells Fargo is not the only bank that's doing that. Bank of America is definitely right there in line with Wells Fargo, along with JP Morgan Chase, who also was in the OCC of plans to close 3 branches in the April 29th bulletin that came out. The closing locations are in Flushing and Great Neck, New York, and Northridge, California. A company spokesperson said that Flushing location has been relocated to a nearby site in the same neighborhood. So they're not really losing that branch. They still have access to it, but you're finding that a lot of these branches that are closing are creating deserts, just like we have when the grocery stores close. We got the food deserts, and now we got the pharmacy. We got the pharmacy deserts. So, and the Great Neck and Northridge branches were consolidated due to the proximity to other Chase branches. And I did notice when there used to be a Wells Fargo on a corner on, like, I think it was Garners Ferry Road, if you're know anything about Columbia, South Carolina. And now I think it's turning into a Chase bank, but it had been closed for a long time as a Wells Fargo. So you'll see some banks being taken over by other banks. You'll see some banks close down, and then maybe another bank will move in. And then sometimes restaurants turn those banks into restaurants. So you're going to see a lot of things happening, but all in all, we're not going to be able to afford a lot of things that's happening. So it doesn't matter if a new restaurant opens up for me, because the cost of the food to get that is just cheaper to cook at home. And those are things that I hate to do. I don't really like cooking at home, but you do what you got to do, especially when you need to save money. And we are trying to renovate this home. Some of the other big banks they have on here are individual locations in the coming months, like Bank of America and Fidelity Bank, which are shutting down branches in Hoboken, New Jersey, and Wichita, Kansas, and other areas. So hope this was news that you can use. Maybe if you can't, you can share it out. Give this video a thumbs up, as I need YouTube to know that this video needs to be pushed so they can push my videos, because right now I need all the views I can get, because they're not really pushing my videos. But it takes you guys sharing it out and liking it, and I appreciate those of you who have been doing that. It means so much to me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you, but God loves you more. He created only one you. Be the best you that you can be, and when you are, go out and spread God's love. Peace, love, and light. Thanks for being here on Tommy Bites TV.